Meanwhile, the DA says it has lodged a complaint with the public protector to investigate what the party describes as a clear case of tender inflation in the 93 million rand incurred in the renovations and repairs at ministerial residences. The party says this was revealed in a written parliamentary reply received to its questions. Party MP Leon Schreiber says the expenses show signs of massive tender inflation and corruption. In one case, 1.4 million rand was spent on a new kitchen. In another case, 240,000 rand was paid to fumigate cockroaches. It cost 53,000 rand to install a new curtain rail and 19,000 rand to replace light bulbs. Now, South Africa's intelligence services are in the spotlight again when parts of the country were plunged into chaos during the unrest and violence of July 2021. Many asked why intelligence was not armed with information to warn the South African public and avoid loss of life. Well, Professor Bhecki Mngomezulu says it's important now to answer whether the country is any better off than it was in 2021, especially in light of the tell-all book, Truth to Power, written by the former CEO of Eskom, Ruyter. Mngomezulu is the director of the Center for the Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at the Nelson Mandela University, and he joins us now. Professor, thank you as always. Firstly, I've read what you've written. You've spoken publicly about this. Let's just clarify, are you more concerned with the fact that Ruyter used intelligence services, non-official private services, or with the information that came to light that was not known by the official intelligence services?
No, thank you very much for having me, my sister. To be honest with you, I'm concerned with both incidents that you just referred to. First of all, as a country, we are a unitary state. That is why during the Codesa talks, we ruled out the possibility of being a federal state, in which case we would have had governors like it is the case in other countries like Nigeria, for example, here in Africa, and maybe America and the US and many others outside the continent. So we went for a unitary state. So therefore it means that we have one intelligence department that is responsible for both domestic intelligence and international intelligence. So in any event that the country's life is under threat, you expect that unit to be ready to inform the nation that no, everything is under control. But then the moment things like what happened in 2021, July 2021 happened under our intelligence, then you raise questions, what went wrong? Now let's assume that now that was a mistake and we have learned from it. Now let's look at the present moment. Then you have the Ruyter, he has written a book, and there are talks of an intelligence report that cannot be located. Now the question becomes, did the Ruyter have a private intelligence unit that was responsible for collecting that information? And then the second question is, was our official intelligence unit aware of that investigation? Then thirdly and lastly, what will this information be used for? And the fact that Kulego Hlengwa, who heads the SCOPA, was unable to locate that intelligence report, that is a cause for concern, because Kulego Hlengwa is not just an ordinary person, but is a member of parliament tasked with the responsibility to oversee SCOPA. So if he himself can't have access to this information, then they should raise questions. To make things worse, Pravin Gordhan also doesn't know anything about this. The SIU doesn't know anything about this. Now the question is, how did the Ruyter access that information, and what is the country doing about it?
Yeah, I'm also thoroughly confused why, even if that report was commissioned privately, why it has not been shared far and wide. I mean, can you see any reason why the Ruyter should not have handed over intelligence if it is actionable and if it can bring people involved in Eskom sabotage or the like to book?
The basic question for me is, why was this intelligence sought in the first place? Once you answer that question, then you'll be able to tell if there was any need to divulge that information to the official intelligence officials, or to keep it private in the manner that you collected that evidence. So for me, then the critical question is, what was intelligence meant for? And then once the Ruyter got that information, did it serve its purpose, or did it discard it? Because my main concern is that no one seems to know where this information is. Hopefully then the Ruyter will know where it is, but then he's the one person who can assist us in this matter to establish why he set up the investigating team in the first place, why it didn't go through our official intelligence. Those are some of the questions that we should be asking. And then once we answer those questions, we should be able to then come to the conclusion as to whether he was forced to divulge that information and make it public, or to use it for private purposes, if that was the original motive in the first place.
So we need to go back and say, why is somebody heading up an SOE not feeling trusting of the official investigators in the first place? There are some other concerns here. The name of Fidelity Security has come up, and government concerned about former spies getting involved in private intelligence operations. I mean, surely you don't want private companies dealing with security in South Africa to have to be more in the know than your official intelligence. That gives them incredible power, doesn't it?
You know, my sister, you are asking a very pertinent question. And my only response here is that our country is in trouble. And the reason I make that statement is that we have seen a number of things happening only in South Africa, which you can't find in any country, including the recent incident where the American ambassador, Ruben Brigetti, saw it necessary to convene a media briefing without bothering to talk to our officials, and then told us that there's going to be an attack in Sentin. And then while our eyes were on that one, then he told us that South Africa sold arms to Russia. And nothing seems to be happening except that we sent a delegation to America. I don't know what to do. And then they came back, and then now we are planning to appoint a retired judge to investigate. Why? Please don't ask me, I don't know that. But the reality is that we're in trouble. And part of the reason is that even if we have good policies, which we do have, by the way, we have very good policies, but we are failing to implement the same policies that were formulated. And people find ways to basically bypass those with no consequences. The question we're asking about former spies participating in private investigation, that is a cause for concern, because it means that if there is a policy gap, then we must fill that gap as soon as yesterday. Because the reality is that there are many people who are going to leave our intelligence structures, and then if there is no guideline as to what they need to do, how they need to behave after leaving the service, then we'll find them either opening their own investigating teams or companies, or in fact participating in already existing companies, and that will put the country's safety at risk, because we expect everything to be done through the formal channels. In this case, we have a formal intelligence, then there should be the structure that is responsible for collecting all such information to keep us safe. At the moment, if the information is out there for anyone to access at any time, then it means that our safety is being compromised.
All right, still more questions than answers, even in relation to this private intelligence report. That was Professor Bhecki Mngomezulu, Director of the Centre for the Advancement of Non-Racialism and Democracy at Nelson Mandela University.